So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this video. I am happy that you are here. Today, we are talking about what I am most excited about today. And what I'm most excited about today is um, I committed myself to running a 10-kilometer race in December of 2026. And it's going to be in Cancun. So, I'm excited about that. Um, if you're new here, my name's Halona Black. I currently live in Mexico. I left the States in 2018, and I've lived in 10 countries since then. Mexico is my 10th country. And right now I live in Playa del Carmen. So I live not that far from Cancun. It's about maybe a 45-minute drive away. And so this year has been quite a challenge for me health-wise. And I'm just excited that I have enough energy to be able to say that I have enough energy to be able to commit myself to a race. Because what I've been saying for months is that, I actually did my first half marathon. I did a half marathon in January 2025, and I wanted to do another half marathon, um, not necessarily to improve time or anything, but just to be able to improve how I felt throughout the process of completing the half marathon. That was probably one of the hardest physical feats I had ever faced, and in many ways, I felt like I wasn't properly prepared, and I want to be properly prepared for it next time. And so I want to be able to do one for 2027. I don't see myself being ready to do one for this year. As a matter of fact, the race that I'm doing is a 10K race. That's actually the smallest race that you can actually do on that day. There's a full marathon, half marathon, and a 10K in Cancun. Um, and so I'm just excited to be able to do it. I'm excited to be able to do it. I said that I wanted to do the race, a half marathon in 2027. Um, but I just felt like there has to be something that I could do this year, and I wasn't sure that if there would be a race coming up in my immediate area. And sure enough, yesterday I opened up my email box, and one of the companies that actually promotes some of the sport activities um, for adults and kids. They said they had this Cancun race coming up. And so I was really excited about it for a number of reasons. Um, I like being able to have this race on my calendar because it just gives you something to be able to work toward. So many, for many of us, putting fitness on our list of things to do feels just like that. It feels like a list of stuff you need to do in order to get through the day. But when you actually have an event that you have to prepare for, I just feel like it gives me some extra energy. It gives me a different reason to be able to get up and make sure, okay, now these 10,000 steps really need to get done today and every day because I need to be in a certain level of physical shape before this race shows up in December. Um, and so it's nice to be able to train for a real event. And again, I don't necessarily do these things to be able to, complete by a certain time, at least not right now. I just do it so that I can get better and feel better being able to get through the process. I have told this story many times before here on this channel, but I've lost 100 pounds in the last 8 years that I have been traveling around the world. And, there was a point in time where I didn't really feel like I would ever be able to do something this big. I remember when, what my body felt like just trying to walk upstairs or trying to walk from one place to the corner. Um, so to be in in an event with other people who consider themselves to be runners, whether they're at the pro level or, they're just folks who just like to run around the corner every now and again. It's just cool to be in the group. It's just cool to be in the group. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. I don't have to wait until next year to be able to find something. I'm still looking for something for 2027, but it's nice to be able to have a smaller goal that I can work towards for 2026, so that I can do that in early December, um, and then be able to look forward to whatever race I happen to find for 2027. Um, so yeah, I'm excited about that. So put like if you're thinking about your fitness goals and you're sort of bored with, just doing your, 5,000 steps, 10,000 steps, or, feeling like, I got to do a certain number of squats and push-ups every day, put something on your calendar, even if the race is just you. Like, it doesn't even need to be a formal race. Like, I know people who, they just decide on this date, I need to be able to run a half a marathon, and they run it by themselves. They get up and they run it by themselves, and they don't, it doesn't even matter to them. But find something and put it on your calendar, um, and see what level of energy you get behind what it is that you're doing, simply because it's on your calendar and you're not giving yourself an out. So running, as a person who I consider myself a non-joiner, like a non-joiner. So what does that mean? A non-joiner. I tend to run through life solo. I don't have a ton of friends. I never really joined like a group of what do you call them? Like a sorority, or certainly not a fraternity, but I never joined a sorority. I was never really big on group clubs. Um, I kind of go through life by myself. I find people that I can connect to here and there, but I don't need big groups of people, right? And so it's weird that I actually like this process of running and joining races, uh, because it's a wonderful group activity, actually. And I really like the fact I like being able to run on my own, but I can run in the back and not really feel like, oh, she's the fat, slow one in the back, and she's not part of the group because she's sort of running in the back, and no one's paying attention to her. Whether you run in the front, people the people on the sidelines who are cheering and clapping for you, um, people have the same level of enthusiasm for the person who's winning the race as they do for the people who are last, absolutely last in the race. And that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun to be able to see, because they're just excited to see you. They're excited to see you move past your what you feel like maybe your physical limitations or your mental limitations, and you are deciding to be able to move forward with it anyway. And I think that that is just the grandest. Um, I think that that's the grandest experience. I really do. Um, so if you're feeling like maybe running is something that you would like to do, it's not like because I'm like I don't join gyms either. Like I have done things that, like here in Playa del Carmen and even some of the other international cities that I've been to, like I've joined gyms in other places, and it always sort of feels sort of strange. I always sort of feel like the odd one out. I feel kind of forced to be able to pay for some sort of a strenuous training program that I don't really want to be on. Um, I just don't want to do that. And so running, I feel like um, it's a lot more open. It's much more accepting. People are cheering for you. So maybe running is your thing, or maybe walking. I'll be honest with you, I probably do more walking than I do running in a lot of these races that I run. Um, and that's just because that's the level of fitness that I'm at. My point is to be able to complete the race and not necessarily run from start to finish. I just need to complete the thing. I'm not worried about time or any of that stuff. I'm just happy to be there, right? And everybody else is happy that you're there. Um, the people who are cheering on the sidelines, and even the other runners. I would see other runners, and sometimes if it's a shorter race, they'll come back around because they're in such good shape, and they will cheer other people on while they're running. If it's a 5K, for example, they'll complete their 5K and then come back and do the same route again and cheer on the people who are still doing their first 5K. So that's funny to see. What else? So, why has this past year been such a challenge for me? I have had such an issue with, um, I guess it's perimenopause issues. I'm 49 years of age and trying to figure out how my hormones are changing. I've had such an issue with gut dysbiosis, um, and that kind of threw off my ability to sleep. It has thrown off my ability to think and be creative. Um, and I just had to stop. Not necessarily that I had to stop, but it's just sort of switched around how it is that I was feeling in my body. So a lot of the things that I had the energy to do, like the running and the walking and all the other stuff that I was doing before, I just didn't have the energy for it. It made me sit down and think about what it is that I was eating, um, how it is that I was feeding myself, and looking into ways that I was perhaps missing nutrients, and how I wanted to feed myself. Now, a lot of people, for some reason, think that I have committed myself to, being a raw vegan or a vegan simply because I post pictures. I post a lot of pictures of salads, and I still do love salads. I love a salad, but that's not the only thing that I eat. Um, Now, I've explained this on this channel before. What I eat is a reflection of where I am in the world. And so for a while, for the 3 years that I was in Rwanda, because it was difficult for me to be able to find meats um, that were well preserved, it's usually a refrigeration thing. I had to stop eating meat there because it was making me sick. And so I had to depend on I eat a lot more fruits and vegetables there because I couldn't eat anything else. I had to become more of a vegetarian, a vegan vegetarian, than I have in any of the other countries that I've come from, that I have lived in. But what I also noticed was that eating the fruits and vegetables that I had in Rwanda, the quality of the fruits and vegetables were so high that I was able to get more nutrients from those fruits and vegetables. So I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Like I never really felt like, oh my God, um, if I don't eat this steak, I'm going to pass out. But here, when I moved to Mexico, not that the food here isn't good, but a lot of the fruits and vegetables that you get here are quite old. And I think that's by virtue of where it is that we live in the country. Because I've been to other parts of the country, Oaxaca to be specific, and the fruits and vegetables that I had there tasted a lot more fresh, almost as fresh as what I had in Rwanda. But here in Playa del Carmen, oh my God, like it just felt more challenging to be able to feel full and nourished. And there's a difference between being full and nourished. Um, you can sit down and you can eat a bunch of bread and meat and cheese, which is or corn. um, which tends to be a lot of what I understand to be a lot of Mexican food to be, but it's not nourishing for me. Like I need fruits. I need a ton of fruits and vegetables. I can't survive on, um, meat, corn, and cheese only. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, and so I'm always trying to figure out ways to be able to do it. Now, what I've done to be able to sort of learn a different way of eating here is, I try to find ways to be able to find good fish. And what I find is weird here, even though I live at the beach, Playa del Carmen doesn't really have a lot of fish places, or at least not a lot of good fish places the way that I would recognize it. Like if you've ever been to the Caribbean, or really just any place that is close to the sea or even a lake, there's places where they sell fresh fish, where you can go in and you can buy the fresh fish, and they'll cut it the way that you wanted it to be cut, and they'll clean it up for you, package it up, and send you on your way. And I ain't really seen it any place like that. A lot of the fish that you get here is already packaged and frozen. And some of those places that are packaged and frozen are better than others. Like some places, it's just really obvious that it kind of tastes old. Like if you go to a regular supermarket, the fish sort of tastes old already. But then there's a couple of like smaller markets that I have been to where they sell um, fish that's packaged by a particular company. And the fish might come from other parts of Mexico that have, I don't know, maybe a more of a fishing for public consumption um, community, like Mazatlan, which I think is on the Pacific coast of Mexico. They're known for their shrimp, and I've ordered from a couple of places um, to be able to get their shrimp, and the shrimp is fabulous. It doesn't taste sort of old and like it's been frozen 3 times over, and you know, it's just different. So when I go to a new place, when I go to a new country, I'm always having to figure out what it is, what is my process for being able to feed myself so that I can be at the um, best health possible. And I think Mexico has really given me a challenge, not just because of what is available here, because everything is available here. Um, but I find a lot of it to be old, and that the fact that it's old, things lose nutrients over time. It's still healthy, but it loses nutrients over time. So when I was in Rwanda and I would order food from a local grocer or a local market, they would bring it to my doorstep in a paper bag, and it was literally like they had pulled up the greens and the herbs from their backyard and stuck it in a bag and said, "Here." That's how fresh it tasted. Um, but we all got to work with what we have, and that's another one of the reasons why I'm not really interested in staying in Playa del Carmen, because of the food. The food is important to me. I want to be able to know the farmer. I want to know who my farmer is. I want to know, what parts of the year is great for what it is that they are selling, what it is that they're serving, and I want to be the first in line for, for when they harvest stuff. Like if you know that you're doing a harvest at 6 o'clock in the morning, I want to be there at noon to be able to pick up and purchase whatever it is that you got going on. That's how serious I am about the food that I eat. Um, and so I'm looking forward to being able to move to a different place in Mexico so that I will have access to farmers in the way that I want. Um, but yeah, I also wanted to share. I had to be able in this season of life. It's not just the food that I'm eating, but also the season of life that my body is in. So I'm going through this perimenopause process, and it's just kind of like an up in the air process. You just sort of keep your eyes open for what it is that your particular body is going through, and you sort of learn how to feed it as you are going along. And that's really kind of what it is that I am learning about this process. Um, I don't have the example of having a mother who had gone through this. My mother passed away when she was 49 of breast cancer. And in some ways, I think it was, I believe it was hormonal breast cancer that she eventually died from. And in a lot of ways, I learned a lot of things about hormones and how to be able to take care of hormones because of her example of her experience with breast cancer. And so um, hopefully I'm taking the best care possible of myself so that I don't have to face that sort of a diagnosis. Um, but at the same time, it's really just a matter of uh, being tested for certain things and then being experimenting to see what works. I really don't like to do things like, well, first of all, being a woman and you go to a regular doctor, many of them are just going to tell you, oh, it's nothing, or they're going to find some way to be able to put you on some sort of a birth control, or they want to put you on, hormone replacement therapy at, by a certain time. And I don't want to take anything. Like if I don't want to be taking anything outside of natural herbs, supplements, and things like that, and you take those temporarily to be able to get yourself into um, a level of health that works for you. You're not supposed to be on the same set of herbs for years and years. You take it for a time until you need it, and then get your body back on track. And then you should also continue to do the things that keep your body on track. And so I took a few different types of herbal supplements. And this is not, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not saying any of this. I'm just sharing a few of the things that I have taken. And so to help me with my gut, I've done things like taking marshmallow root, slippery elm. To help with sleep, I've taken magnesium and zinc. Um, I have increased the amount of cruciferous vegetables, things like cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and kale and all sorts of other things. Radishes, radish, the actual radish bulbs, which are really good here. I have always said like radishes in the United States were absolutely disgusting. It's like they had no flavor anymore. Like I remember eating radishes as a kid and they had like a slight bite to it. The radishes here actually have a bite. And if you're lucky, you can get radishes and they'll come with like radish greens on the top of it. And I would actually cook those, like in the slightest bit of extra virgin olive oil with a little salt and some garlic. And you saute it for a hot minute. Wash them well, of course. Saute it for a hot minute because, if you cook it any more than that, then it'll just be crispy. But they're so delicious. Radish greens. If you can get radish greens, eat them. And then eat the radish bulbs. I'll eat a few of those a day and I'll just add it to my salad that I'm eating that day. But radishes are so good. Um, and then I have a little bit of kimchi sometimes. I don't make the kimchi, of course. And I don't necessarily like, um, industrialized, prepackaged goods like that. So I like to be able to get my kimchi from a local Chinese American family that lives here in Playa del Carmen. They have like a home kitchen, and they make these things, and some of the traditional Chinese American foods that we like to be able to have. But they also make kimchi, and the kimchi is it doesn't have any fish. They don't put any fish in it because I think traditional kimchi often has anchovies in it, but they don't put anchovies in it, and it's delicious. I love it. I'll buy that every couple of months. And I'll, just eat a little bit. I'll put some to the side of when I'm eating a salad or on the side of a rice dish or something like that. Um, I have upped my level of clean proteins. Right now, I really like fish, um, things like tilapia or salmon, of course. They have a couple of other fish types that I like from time to time. I'll buy sea bass from time to time. Sea bass is expensive as hell, though. And then, of course, I'll get tuna, sardines, of course, um, and I really like that. I prefer to have fish, and then I have access to chicken and beef, and I prefer to get the kinds that don't have any like added hormones and all, so hormones and additives and things like that. And so because of it, the serving portions are really they're rather small. Um, I have seen packaged chicken here in Playa del Carmen. You go to the store and it'll say American chicken, and the American chicken is so huge and so heavy, and it's always on freaking sale. I don't know. I, I don't know if it's because that's what everybody knows that the American chickens are not necessarily natural. But the American chickens are always so freaking huge. And I'm like, why would anybody even eat this? That's why they're always on sale. And whenever I do see them in the store. Um, I just thought that was hilarious. That the American chickens, they look like big Americans. Um, and what else? And so yeah, it took me about a good year of just trying things out and a lot of resting. I did a lot of rest this past year because I had to. I like there was a point in time in my life where I felt like I could sort of push myself through. And I just don't have it. I don't have it now. I don't have it in me to be able to push through. What I do have now is energy to be able to work and work diligently within a certain space of time. And when that space of time is over, I go back into my rest. And that's a more balanced way for me to be able to live, to be able to continue to be creative, to be able to continue to stick to the things that I said that I am supposed to do. Because pushing yourself out of the obligation only makes you sick. It only makes you sick, and it'll actually screw up your hormones even further. So you're not doing your body a favor. You may survive it when you're in your 20s and 30s, but certainly by your 40s, you can't do it anymore. So I'm learning how to be able to appreciate um, listening to my intuition and listening to what my body wants, and when it's time to rest. What else am I doing to prepare for this race? I am um, paying closer attention to muscle density, and I'm reading about what beginning runners should be paying attention to. And when I've done running before, I have paid less attention to muscle density or building muscle at all. Um, and I think that it has been harder for me because I didn't have enough muscle to be able to get me through. Like, I have paid more attention to being able to lose weight, to be able to shrink your body down, to be able to look thinner. But it's also really important in your 40s to be able to build muscle. And the reason is because as you get older, your muscle density as a woman just sort of goes down naturally. And I can see the difference in what my body looks like, and I don't care for it. like, like I'm not caring for it. And so, what I want to do is to be able to learn how to do things that build muscle in my body. And so, I have my exercise bands. I'm not really into lifting weights, at least not right now. Once I move, I think I want to be able to have a space, small space in my house where I will have space to be able to move on the floor and to be able to have a small weight set in my home to be able to, like when I lived in Rwanda, I did have those things. Like I had a jump rope and I didn't have weights, but I did have I had a weighted hula hoop, and I could go out onto my um, one of my three balconies in my place in Rwanda. And, it was nice to be able to go out in the sunshine early in the morning and do all these things. I don't have space for that where I live now. So um, it's nice to be able to have that. Um, so at least for right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing my exercise bands. They literally take up no space. I can, take bands like this and I get to use them 3 to 4 days a week. And when I'm done, I put them away in a drawer. They weigh nothing. They take up no space in a bag or wherever. You can literally just throw them in the corner. I just happen to put them on my desk so that I can remember that they're here. Sometimes when I'm, reading things, I will take my bands and I will do leg and arm exercises while I'm sitting and reading at the same time to make sure that I actually do them. Because the muscle development is not necessarily part of what I've been doing the whole time. It's very easy for me to forget to do them at this point. Um, I'm expecting that my continued commitment to doing it 3 to 4 times a month will actually put it at the front of my mind. And maybe, maybe next year I might be interested in joining a gym or something. But right now, I don't want to. What I do want, I want a running coach, somebody who could help me with a running coach. Um, and in my head, that would include muscle development. The running coach and like, doing things like trail walking. I don't want it to just be running. I also want, one of the things that I want is to be able to travel to other countries, to be able to do trail runs in really beautiful places. Like there's a sister on Instagram. Her name is Manika Runs. Manika Runs. Manika Runs. Um, and like just part of her life is just traveling around the world and doing all of these really great trails that like she'll go to. I watched her do the Grand Canyon, and she was like traveling down into the Grand Canyon. Um, she'd done some race in like I think it was in Namibia. Um, I think she'd gone to Vietnam, and I love that. I love that for her, and I want that for me. I want that for me. And so she's in such great shape, and she has shown that even she at her level of health and well-being, she has had some issues. I think with things like hydration and things like that that she has had to learn along the way. Um, but I would love to be able to do that. Like that's a life to me. For so many people, especially if you know that if you have a career where you're sort of sedentary most of the time. Like as a writer, I'm sedentary most of the time. My job depends on me sitting down at a desk um, and typing all day. That's and so for me to be able to move, I must have space in my day and time when I make myself get up. And I have to do this at least 2, sometimes 3 times a day. And even if it's just a short spurt of 10, 15, 20 minutes of walking, or, running to the store to be able to run an errand and making sure that I get sunshine in my eyes and all sorts of things like that. Um, those things are important. So I like being able to have these goals where I'm putting into my calendar and saying, all right, I have this race coming up in December and I have to be ready for it. I have to be ready for it. And if that day comes around, that would be on me. If December, if I think if the race is December 5th, if December 5th comes and I'm not ready for it, I'm gonna go out there anyway. I'll just walk the whole 10K. Um, but that's not going to be the case. It's never been the case. Like every race that I have run, um, I went out there and I did it. There are ways in which I could have done it better, um, but I only know that until after I complete the actual race. Um, so yeah, muscle density is important. And then lastly, I wanted to share that there are many paths to health and well-being. Um, I don't know. Sometimes I think people look at me and the route that I have taken and to losing is particularly when I lost the initial 100 pounds. They look at me and they're like, okay, well, what did you do? And to lose the weight. And really, there's a string of things that I did to be able to lose weight. But they'll often focus on one or two things, and then they'll sort of half-ass doing the one or two things. Um, and forget the rest. Um, and then they're sort of disappointed and will say, well, that way of losing weight doesn't work for me. This is why I say that it's so important for you are the person that has to decide what it is that's interesting to you. What do you feel like your soul, your spirit is being called to? Um, as far as your road to health is. I don't even want to call it weight loss because it's not always even weight loss. But what does your road to health look like? And there are many paths. And one of the things that I think that for me has always made the biggest difference is that I have hired people along the way. I have hired people along the way to be able, people who knew more than me, I hired them to be able to support me in getting me to wherever it is that I have wanted to go. I have hired herbalists. I have worked with shamans. I have worked with massage therapists. I have worked with, counselors and therapists. I have worked with physical trainers. I have worked with, people who were specialists in different types of health, like functional medicine. I have read books. I have watched the videos. I have taken the classes, and um, that were related to Buddhism and Buddhist thought, because that's what's interesting to me. So in the same way that there are many paths to God, and that's what I do believe. I believe that there is more than one way than just your way to God. There are also many paths to health and well-being, which actually to me is one in the same. Your route to God and your route to health are really connected. And there are many ways for you to be able to get there. You just have to be able to um, tap into what it is that you are looking for and to be able to listen and hear what people are saying so that you can find people who can help you. And that's really what I did, particularly in my very beginning. Like when I left the States and I was 100 pounds overweight, and I went there with the purpose of, not even with the purpose of, but I eventually ended up with the purpose of saying, I said I needed for somebody to be able to help me with my health because I felt like I was dying. And so I couldn't just walk into a regular old doctor's office because I'd done that many times before for other things, and it never really led me to anywhere but prescriptions and surgery. And so I something in my own spirit told me that I needed to be able to listen, and when the right person comes along, trust it and move forward. And so It's not that I'm, sitting around prescribing things for myself. I just have created a team of people that I have been able to work with over the years to be able to support me where I am at that moment in time. And I invite you to do the same for yourself. Where are you right now? And what do you want? Social media, YouTube, books, there's all sorts of things, ways for you to be able to check people out, to be able to check out whether or not these people are telling you the honest truth, versus those who are, they just have an Instagram page, look to be an Instagram daddy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share today. I hope this makes sense. So preparing for this whole 10K isn't just about crossing um, the finish line in Cancun, but it's really more about me celebrating a year of listening to my body and healing my gut and like reclaiming my strength on my own terms. And as women over 40, our health and our creativity are deeply interconnected. And when your nervous system is regulated and your body feels supported, your creative and your financial power will start to naturally expand. I promise you, it really does. And so over on my Substack, it's called Wealthy, Wise, and Whole. Um, I have a year-long course that I am creating from week to week. It's called Discovering Yourself in Midlife. And it's really all about honoring your physical temple as well as the life transitions that you are going through so that you can discover the wisdom of your life on your own. And so I have I have essays and things that I share about stories of where I've been overseas. And then I offer an invite to you to be able to share your stories and what it is that you have learned through the journaling prompts that I create. And that's what I have for my paid subscribers. Um, so you can go to halona.substack.com. The link is in the description box as well as in the first comment. Please do subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to move towards becoming a monetized channel. So click the subscribe button as well as the like button, and that just tells the algorithm that you enjoy content like this. So thank you so much for hanging out in this video with me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.